Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Toy List of Titles. My name is Justin Stevens, and I'm back with you for another waiver wire episode. This one's kind of an exciting one for me right now because my fantasy football playoffs are coming down to the wire as Monday Night Football is coming down to the wire. So for this last 5 minutes, I'm pulling for not very much Josh Allen and a whole lot of Ramondre Stevenson. But so far, it's been holding on strong, but if you see me react, that's gonna be the reason. And right now, I barely have a 1 point lead, so not looking good as Josh Allen is charging down the field here. But this is week number 14, and as I was about to say, as usual, he's been kind of a regular on the show here recently, the last few weeks. Is my boy Nate Whalen. Nate, I see you're back in the hotel again and available to help us out. So I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, it's the final week here. It's I'm glad it's over. Well, almost over. Tomorrow will be pretty cold, but it's kind of going to warm back up. So it should be a nice week. And yeah, happy to be on here and looking forward to it. So
yep, right on.
This game's driving me crazy.
Yeah, I know we're not going to be too attentive here, but it's probably a good time for to be the man behind the curtain. Our boy Andrew Campy, that's producing the show for us right now. Let me plop up here his Twitter handle here so that you can get some recognition. But he's probably just watching the game and making fun of us right now anyway. But all right. So anyhow, waiver wire this week. So the waiver wire is getting a little slim. We're down to where it's a little difficult to pick guys up. Occasionally an injury will pop up. I've got something special and interesting for you guys later on when it comes to defenses, but for the most part, pretty standard stuff. We're going to start off with the quarterbacks. You would be very proud of Rich because he came up with a nice little nickname for Garden Chew Mania. Obviously, he means Gardner Minshew here, 5.9% rostered. It says that he could potentially be the new quarterback in Philly. He definitely played really well. Hurts has played like a decent quarterback for fantasy purposes all season. He hasn't played like a decent quarterback for winning football games purposes. And it looks like Gardner Minshew has. So let's see. It says pray to the gods that if you own Goddard. Oh, I see. He's saying pray to the gods that Gardner is going to be the starter if you own Goddard, because Goddard did blow up. He had 2 touchdowns, right?
Yeah, on my bench in Frankenstein, 55 points. Didn't matter. Still won by 60. So
who did you play?
I think I played Ben.
Oh, wow. Okay. Nice. A little T to T cannibalism there. Matthew Judon down on the field. So that's
not good.
That's going to bode great for me trying to not get Jared Allen points. Let's see. Realistically, okay, here we've got Carson Wentz. This is probably Joe. Yep, Joe again. He puts Carson Wentz on here every single week, so I appreciate the Colts love Joe. He says realistically it's slim pickings on the waiver wire, but I noticed that quarterback Carson Wentz is still only rostered in only 56% of leagues. He says that this is a crime that must be rectified, especially since he's the current 11th ranked fantasy quarterback. And honestly, here's the thing. Here's the reason why. It's because of that slow start to the team. And they've come around. He still has games where it's like all Jonathan Taylor, but even in those games, at least he's efficient. He's not a bad streaming quarterback from week to week, any given week. Andrew throws up Taysom Hill, quarterback for the Saints, 35.9% rostered. He says running quarterbacks always have value in fantasy, and he gets the New York Jets this week. So 2 really great reasons to roster Taysom Hill if you're quarterback streaming at this time of the year. So now I'm going to kick back, watch the game, kick it over to you, Nate, and let you handle the running backs.
Yes, sir. So when I checked, it was 110 points I won by in Frankenstein against Ben.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It was against Ben. Nice.
So first we got Chuba Hubbard. I think I said, or I think you put him down last week or somebody did. I know I remember talking about him. With CMC not for the season, Hubbard easily falls back into 16 to 25 touches a game. And you saw that in the previous weeks without CMC. So he's huge to get if somebody dropped him. If you can even, if you have any fab left, he might be a guy worth dumping quite a bit on there. So I put Jeff Wilson Jr. down. He got hurt against Seattle this week, and I don't know what the injury was. I haven't heard anything. All I've heard was, that Mitchell has a concussion, and he went back in the game Sunday, but he had symptoms of the concussion on today. So I don't think that bodes very well for him going forward. I'm not really sure why the Niners lost to the Seahawks, but that's another day. So, but with Eli Mitchell, the concussion protocol, I think that opens the door for Jeff Wilson. I don't know who else is going to, Jermichael Hasty's there, but who knows if he'll be the guy. I think Jeff Wilson's probably where I would be putting my, that's the stock I'd be going for. So they go to Cincinnati next weekend, and so they're going to need some help to keep up with them, with Debo still sidelined. So next one, this is Royce Freeman, 0.6%. I wanted him to work when he got drafted out of Oregon to Denver. Never did. Pretty much has been the same throughout his career. But he got called up from the practice squad for the Texans. And I feel like that they're going to kind of run him out there a little bit, him and Jalen Samuels, just because they want to see what they got, for next year. It's David Johnson's in front of him and Rex Burkhead. I don't think that's where they're really trying to build a team around. So not saying that Royce or Jalen Samuels is the answer, but, Royce did get some playing time against the Colts. So not that he looked stellar, but, he may be a guy to stash just if you got room. I mean, if you don't, wouldn't be mad, but it's worth a shot. Next, we got Dontrell Hilliard from Andrew. The Tennessee running backs rostered in 35.9% of leagues. He's mentioned the last few weeks coming off the bye, so make sure you check for him. A lot of guys, those guys get dropped. So looks to be in a running back by committee. However, he's getting catches as well, which will help in your PPR leagues. Another one by Campy that makes me laugh again, not because of Andrew saying it, just because we're saying him again, is Adrian Peterson, the Seattle running back, 12.4% rostered. Surprised how quickly he was involved, as was I. A lot of goal line work, and they're playing Houston this week. Maybe the Seahawks are going to try to finish strong for no reason. I just can't believe it. I don't even know. Then Matt gave us Samaje Perine, 6.6%. He looked really good in limited carries he had. If Mixon missed his time from the neck injury, Perine would have a fantastic floor and great upside. I didn't look at the numbers lately, but there was a few weeks early in the year where I know Perine was getting carries even with the healthy Mixon. I mean, not as much as Mixon, but he was still in the game enough to where you could almost start him, as a flex or if you needed somebody. So he's one to keep an eye on for sure. Next, we will go to the wide receivers. I believe this one I put down Jalen Guyton. I've had him on all my rosters, I think, since he came into the league. He's only 0.2% rostered. He's been off the radar, though, for a long time because he's got Mike Williams and Keenan Allen in front of him. But last week against the Bengals, he had 4 catches for 90 and a touchdown. His first touchdown of the year, finally. I don't think that's going to be normal. I don't see him, scoring touchdowns every week. But I'm just kind of hopeful that the Chargers will continue to let Herbert air it out. I mean, it seemed like they really opened up the offense yesterday more than they had been. And maybe he'll spread the ball out a little more. I know Mike Williams had a pretty big day, and now Keenan Allen's on the COVID list, which I saw after I put my notes in. So now I'm glad I put him down. Yeah, Keenan Allen's on the COVID list. I don't know his status or anything about that, but there's a chance, obviously, he could miss this coming weekend. So that would help Guyton out quite a bit. He's a fast dude. He's quick. So he can open things up too. Just
and they really like to use him in certain gadget play setups as well. So
yeah, he usually gets some carries here and there too.
If nothing else, you're going to have fun watching him play.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's electric. The next one, Devonte Parker. Parker's back and healthy for now. Hadn't played since week 8. He was 4th in targets on the team, but he caught all 5 of his targets for 62 yards. 2 doesn't throw the ball downfield. And Parker was able to work those short routes for some catches. Tua averaged 6 yards an attempt last week, which is really good, buddy. Had 1 completion over 20 yards. So the big play potential is not there. Did they go for another field goal? Sorry. Big play potential not there.
They should have sacked Allen 4 times, and he just kept backpedaling, and he got it away and still almost scored a touchdown. And and I'm just really nervous right now. Sorry, you can go ahead.
No, you're good.
My bad.
The big play potential is not there for Devonte because Tua can't throw the ball downfield. But this isn't the time for me to bash Tua. You can tune in tomorrow night, and I'll probably do that.
That's almost a weekly segment, right?
That Parker could be a solid floor wide receiver 3 maybe going forward. They got a bye next week, but they get the Jets when week 15 rolls around. So, Tua has looked better, but he just doesn't make when I say he looks better, he looks good on those little short, to not short intermediate. They don't throw the ball downfield. So, but yeah, 54% ownership. Like I said, probably will drop off, I would imagine, with the bye week, but you never know. Next one, Quez Watkins. This depends solely on Minshew. Like I said, he could be back to nothing when his non-throwing QB comes back. But if Minshew's the QB after the Week 14 bye, Quez could be a viable option. Led the Philly receivers in snap share at 77%. Caught all 3 targets for 60 yards. So not a ton, but I think he's definitely somebody to monitor. He's shown some connection. And to be honest, Rich said Gardner. I forgot what he called him. I call him Gardner's mint shoes, but whatever you want to call him. I think every single option for Philly, any pass catching option, whether it's Rager, Devonta Smith, or anybody, goes up just because he can actually throw the football. So, Joe, need a wide receiver. Then Kendrick Bourne identity is decent. ESPN shows him as being rostered in 33.9% of leagues. Feast or famine kind of guy. To him, but it's hard to find better on the waiver wire these days. Yesterday, what the heck? Did my computer just said yesterday he put up 61 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he didn't because he's playing right now. Maybe that means last week. 61 yards and 2 touchdowns. Some fantasy weeks are better than others, but Bourne's a respectable part of the Patriots offense. You can't do that off of tonight because Mac Jones has thrown the ball 3 times. So next week it'll be better. Next one from Andrew, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 6.5% rostered for the Lions. And all the people don't know how to say his name. Like Chris Berman said, Amon-Ra, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's not that, I don't know, whatever. 10 targets and a game-winning touchdown. We expect him to be involved going forward. He and Josh Reynolds look like the pieces to own in Detroit, which I agree. They won a game. Can't believe it. Next one from Andrew, Rashad Bateman, Mr. Shoddy B, 38.4% rostered. He had a 0 last week. So 0 is always disappointing. However, still worth grabbing. I don't put it all on him. It's kind of tough. That game was wild. So, yeah, definitely Rashad Bateman. Another one is the Monday Night Special. He also said Kendrick Bourne. Grab him where you can. Looks to be a leader in the Patriots receiving core. My struggle tonight. Yeah, see, he already said it. My struggle tonight because of the conditions. I should have looked down and I forgot.
I didn't find a spot to jump in there, but I think it's kind of funny that the guy that says a weird, funny nickname for everybody just ripped somebody for saying somebody's name wrong.
Well, if you're going to say his real name, you better say it right,
I was waiting to hear what nickname you had for him.
I don't. It's tough with all these receivers that have you don't really get to talk about him very much, because they've had 6 targets in 6 weeks, so there's not really somebody that I talk about all the time. And I'll have to think about it. I will say Amon-Ra is the better of the St. Brown brothers, and they have one more coming, I think. I don't know where he plays at, but
between him and Equanimous, they both have some pretty stellar names already. I don't think they really.
His brother's got a sweet name too. The other brother. When you're looking at team defenses, I'll get it for you because it's awesome.
Yeah, right on.
The last receiver, this one was from Matt Russell Gage, 25.2% rostered. He said he's somehow just about 20% ownership. He's drawn almost 30 targets and finally delivered on the promise shown, and opportunity's been given with a massive 130-yard game versus the Pats. He also only scored 2 tutties all year. This last week to pick him up. Yeah, I was looking at him as well. Him and Amon-Ra actually kind of was looking around, but I let him go this time. But yeah, he's definitely the other option besides Pitts. So I think tight ends. Is there one?
Yeah, there's only one tight end.
From Campy, yeah.
Ricky
Seals Jones, the Nashville country singer. The Washington Heineke's tight end, 6.3% rostered. He says Campy's run of entering tight ends continues with Logan Thomas ending on the IR. So get his backup who filled in well earlier this year. Yeah, hopefully he doesn't do it again. I don't know who they're going to have playing tight end if
it's a rookie. It's a rookie that's actually gotten some run here and there. I picked him up in a couple dynasty leagues. He didn't look too bad, but obviously not good enough for me to remember his name. But
close enough.
Yeah, but I mean, just out of sheer opportunity, he could potentially be something. But hey, before I move on to the defense and special teams, I did not do a very good job, and producer Campy down there at the bottom was rolling through everything down there at the bottom. But I've been so jacked up about this fantasy game we got going on that I forgot to mention a few other things. First and foremost, make sure you check out all of our other shows on Toilets to Titles, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Yes, they stopped him. Oh, as long as Stevenson doesn't fumble, I'm good to go. Yeah, I might have just made the playoffs against the highest scoring team in the league. But make sure you check out dollars to deuces as well, or is it deuces to dollars? I'm really shaking right now. It's
dollars to deuces
on Wednesday nights. Because those ratings, if you watch those watch hours, you watch those views on there, that dollars deuces is starting to get a little bit of run. We might you might be pushing some of our other shows on some numbers here. So you guys are killing it over there. So definitely appreciate all the work that you guys
have fun. A lot of fun
there. Yeah, that's why it's so good. Like you guys are legitimately just like. You don't care about winning money. It's just
no, because I haven't been winning any.
Absolutely love it. Also, make sure you check out the patreon.com/Toilets to Titles. That's where everybody that all of you that are seeing this are already Patreon subscribers. Until maybe you might catch it on YouTube one day. I'm going to drop it at some point tomorrow morning, but you can, or tomorrow afternoon. I don't know. If I drop it, I may not even drop it to the general public. I never really know because half the time I just want something special for the Patreons. So if you're a Patreon supporter, we really appreciate your support. And if you want to see this episode every week, I have no idea why, because I cannot read to save my life, and that's what this entire episode is about. So, but you're welcome. Drop us that support on the Patreon as well, so you can get this episode every single week when it comes out, the night of, just after Monday Night Football. All right. Let's also talk about the ones that we got right last week. I kind of forgot all about that as well. I didn't run through the spiel at the beginning, but last week and the weeks prior leading up to that, anybody that has been a success in weeks prior, I keep them on this last week's success list until they're no longer a success. But Tony Pollard is no longer eligible. A lot of these are no longer eligible for the waiver wire because they've been getting picked up everywhere. But in a lot of cases, we told you several weeks ago on some of these guys. But a couple weeks ago, we mentioned Tony Pollard. He was a high to mid RB2 this week in all formats. Alexander Madison, we told you about him before the Cook injury. He was a top 5 running back this week before Monday Night Football. Sony Michel, we told you to pick him up because this is all a part of the whole pick up these backup running backs before they become starters, because it's going to happen. It happens every year, and you need these guys for your playoff push. Sony Michel was a top 5 running back this week. Van Jefferson also no longer available because he's been getting picked up a lot more. He was a mid to low wide receiver 2 this week. The Colts defense no longer eligible. Top 3 defense against Houston headed into Monday Night Football. You probably should have saw that one on the schedule and got them even an extra week ahead just in case. Daniel Carlson no longer eligible. Top 6 kicker before Monday Night Football. And after this Wind Bowl of 2021, I don't see any kickers unseating him from a top 6 spot. Logan Thomas was a success technically. Andrew did call that one, but Andrew also gave him Andrew's kiss of death when it comes to tight ends on the waiver wire. 56.2% roster. But here's the thing. Like I say, he did pay off as a top 5 tight end this week, and initially we thought that he tore his ACL, and I think somebody on the team was even scared he tore the ACL and MCL, but test results from today are actually showing that it's a lot more positive than they had initially thought. He's still likely to miss some time, and we don't know how much time. Hopefully we hear more from a specialist tomorrow, but until then, just like Nate said a little bit ago, we're rolling with the country music singer Ricky Seals-Jones, and but if you have a really deep roster or it's dynasty, it's okay to hang on to him because it looks like that maybe they might have a shot to get him back in a few weeks. So at least through this waiver, or until you find out more news, maybe hang on to him, but also probably not worth going out to pick him up necessarily at this point. All right. So the special I have for you guys today are the kickers and defense, mainly the defense. I'm going to go ahead and say my kicker first. The guy that you see on the screenshot, Mason Crosby, 25% rostered. He's had some bad weeks, but the Packers should have a big game this week and be in scoring position early and often against the Bears. So I see Mason Crosby popping back up there and having a big week for the kickers across the league. He's going to represent them all. Now, defenses, I noticed something big on the defenses. And like I said, free agents, waiver wires are slim pickings, and all the other guys were doing a good job of bringing them to you. So I'm just going to bring you defenses today. There are a lot of defenses that I feel are going to have the shot of scoring some serious points this week. So if you're streaming defenses, now's the time to look into some of these. And I put these in the order that I would pick them up in as well. So if you have to put in a priority list, this is the list I would do. And I know a lot of waiver wire or a lot of leagues don't necessarily use kickers. This show primarily is focused around redraft, and most redrafts still use, I said kickers, I meant defense. Most still use team defenses. But I'm going to start off with, a big reason why we have so many this week is because a lot of them had either a bye week or a really tough matchup last week. So I'm going to start off with the Dallas Cowboys. 57.9% roster. That's still under that 60% radar that we look for when we're streaming defenses or any position for that matter. They are the fourth best defense in fantasy football. It is absolutely criminal that they're available, but I get it. In a lot of leagues, it may not be worth it to even hold a bench spot for even the best of defenses. And the Cowboys were facing – no, I can't do it. No, I don't get it. How is it that the Cowboys are still available in your league? You hold the Cowboys defense through the Saints if you really don't feel confident in them going up against Taysom Hill. But you should have felt confident in them going up against Taysom Hill because you should feel confident of them going up against anybody. They were the second best defense this week against New Orleans. So I don't understand why they were dropped in so many leagues this past week. And their next three games are against Washington, the Giants, and then Washington again. So during your fantasy playoffs, you need a defense like this. If they're available, go get those Cowboys. And I know Campy's happy to hear that too because he's a big Cowboys fan. The Panthers defense, 44.6% roster, the top 10 defense in most formats and points per game. They were dropped last week because they had a bye week. They faced the Falcons this week, who are the absolute worst team in the league when it comes to allowing fantasy points to opposing defenses. The Broncos, 43.8% rostered. They were dropped this week due to the really tough matchup with the Chiefs, and they still pulled out a top 12 finish for defenses. They are the 8th overall best defense in fantasy football and in most formats anyway. And this week they get to play the Lions. So you're welcome. Go start the Broncos. Which, I mean, we didn't really talk about it. I'm sure we'll probably talk about it a lot more on the main show, the big show tomorrow. But how about those Lions, man?
Woo!
Incredible. They finally got a win. My son's a big Lions fan, so he was at a buddy's house, so I had to shoot him a text of that of the final score because I don't know when the next year will be that we get to see one of those.
That's wild, man. It is something else. I was happy for him.
Yeah. The Saints, 41.9% rostered, a top 12 defense in most categories, and were dropped last week due to their tough Cowboys matchup. That's one I kind of understand. I mean, they are a top 12 defense, but when you're going against the Cowboys and you're not a great defense, I can see you dropping a team like this to pick up a streaming defense. But this week they get to face the Jets, who have given up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing defenses this season, including a top 12 performance to the Eagles, who statistically on paper are pretty similar to the Saints defense. So there's a pretty good chance you might get another top 12 finish from the Saints again this week. The Titans defense, 24.4% rostered, haven't been a great defense of late, but the already bad Jaguars offense looked pretty pathetic with a limp James Robinson. at running back. So yeah, my nicknames are not nearly as good as yours. There's blood in the water for the Titans, who are fighting to stay atop the AFC South. The Packers, 27.3% rostered. This is Nate's team, so I'm calling out everybody else's team on the show tonight. They are a top 10 defense on the season, but have been better than that overall over the last 6 weeks. They were dropped in a lot of leagues because of their bye last week, and now they get to face presumably Andy Dalton this week against the Bears in Week 14. And honestly, if it's not Andy Dalton, I'm still not too concerned about going ahead and starting the Packers. Yeah, the Packers, they're looking good. Seahawks defense, 6.3% rostered. Statistically, one of the worst defenses in the league across the most categories. But they did look pretty darn good against the 49ers, and they get Davis Mills or Tyrod Taylor in Week 14. So if you're streaming defenses and all these are taken, you're out of waiver money, out of fab money at the end of the season, and you're desperate, we're plucking away here. The Chargers defense, 7.2% rostered, not a great defense this season, but I heard a rumor that Jake from State Farm is warming up the first team in practice this week. This is worth monitoring, and if Daniel Jones isn't good to go, the Chargers should be startable. There's even a chance they might even be a little startable if you're that desperate if Daniel Jones does play, to be quite honest with you. So real quick, I'm going to look. And
I don't think that, as far as the Giants, and Joe would be the one to know this, and I'm sure he'll talk about it. I think Jones is still out, and I think the reason that Jake Fromm is going to possibly get the start is because Skycam Mike Glennon is in the concussion protocol.
Right. So you definitely got to monitor that, because obviously if Glennon can go, he's probably getting the start. But I just saw my final score, guys. I beat the highest scoring team in the league. I have a hell of a good shot at the playoffs. I still have another game next week, but this game really helps. So we extended our regular season one more week because of the extended NFL season. So we do have one more regular season week, but I play one of the worst teams in the league next week, and got a pretty decent lineup for next week. So, guys, I may have just came back from a 1-5 start where I had 3 starting running backs that I drafted two starting running backs I drafted in the first 3 rounds go down before the season even started. Started off 1-5, and I'm battling back here. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling pumped. I know none of you care about other people's fantasy teams, but this is what it's all about. So
I care about everybody's fantasy team.
You really do. You really do. You're like what was that? You remember way back in the day, the newspaper, everybody used to write in to this lady for advice. Dear Abby. Yeah, you're like Dear Abby. I can just send you a message anytime, and you're over there giving me advice, and then you give all the betting advice on Wednesday nights, and just a regular Dear Abby. I don't know. Campy, give me a thumbs up if they have Dear Abby out in Australia. No. Nope.
He has no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, no Dear Abby. All right. Anyhow, okay. I think that's it for the show. I'm not going to keep you guys any longer. It's already pushing 30 minutes for one of our shortest shows. Sorry I was so distracted by the game. Not so
about them Patriots, man.
I'm so sorry to Drew that I pulled off the upset. But those Patriots. It felt dirty for me to root for the Patriots tonight. I'm not going to lie, but I had to do it, and it turned out okay for me. So, all right. Well, do you have anything you want to add? Anything you want to talk about?
No, we'll talk about it tomorrow night. See everybody then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Tomorrow night, the main show. Don't forget, tune in tomorrow night. Probably, we're not going to have John, so it's probably going to be.
I guess it's just me and you. We do whatever we want.
Exactly. It's going to be another mess, another.
We don't have football to watch, at least, while we're doing it. So.
Yeah. We'll be a little bit more focused. Maybe I'll have a different Christmas background. I don't know. I tried to go with the candy cane look tonight, but
it looks good.
All right, man. I guess we'll see you tomorrow night. And